How close are you to making your first million? Let me know in the comments if that's a goal of yours or if you've even reached it. That book is my most recent, but this book is actually my favorite. It's about damn time. This came out in 2020, came out during a really, really tough time for the world. And I think that it helped thousands of people, hopefully tens of thousands. And the reason it's my favorite is because it tells the story of how I went from being homeless, sleeping at an airport, living at an airport, to generating millions and millions of dollars. If you want to, you can Google my name, Arlan Hamilton. It tells you a lot. Obviously, you can grab either of those books and it'll tell you. But essentially, I had been spending my entire existence, my adult life, um, going from one thing to another. I had worked since I was 15. I worked at a pizza place first. It was a hot, boiling um, pizza place. We didn't have air conditioning. It was this huge oven. And I worked there a lot of times by myself. I took the phone calls, I made the pizzas, I had walk-in orders, and then I would get the pizzas ready for the delivery person, usually one or two. And I was 15, 16 at this job. I was there for like 3 years. And I remember what I learned in that job, and I just, as 15, 16 observing, was that the person who delivered the pizzas, this young, strapping guy, a little bit older than me, he would come in at the end of his shift and he would just pour his tips out onto the desk in front of me because we had to count it and kind of, there was some sort of thing we had to do with the money. And that was his tips. And I was making probably $6 or $7 an hour. This was a long time ago. I'm 44 now. And I just remember that I did so much in my shift. It was a 6 hour shift or a 4 hour shift because I was in school as well. And I was sweating and I was tired and people were upset with me on the phone or in person. And I was doing this customer service and I was managing the place if my manager wasn't there because he was the owner. So he wasn't there all the time. And I was doing things really fast so that the guy could make his deliveries on time so we wouldn't look bad. And he would always come in with a big smile on his face. He would, had flip-flops on, a cap. He was living his best life. And he was making at least two times what I made, if not more. And what that taught me was that there are different positions for people. There are different values for work, and not necessarily what you do gets valued correctly. So think about that for yourself right now. Are you in a job where what you're doing is making other people wealthy? It is helping the bottom line of that major company or another person, but you get paid the same, exact same, every single week, week after week, for no matter what you do. If you do an incredible job, if you do a okay job, maybe there are bonuses, maybe there's some sort of incentive, maybe you get some sort of upgrade each couple of years. But what kind of setup do you have? I want you to think about it a lot because I know sometimes um, years can go by and we can get kind of settled in our own ways. If any of this is resonating with you, I want you to write the word gem, G-E-M, gem. You can see it behind me. Gem, write that in the comments if any kind of takeaway or something light bulb moment comes on for you and let me know what it is because it'll help me with my videos in the future. But I want to help you right now because this is not all doom and gloom. I went on to that job. I went on to several jobs that I hated, but I did them. And we did them because of a few reasons. We do these jobs because this is our lot in life. Like this is kind of our way of keeping the ecosystem of the world going, right? We are doing our part in the world, and each person has their different jobs. I remember in I think it was fourth grade and seventh grade, in the US, where we went to something called Enterprise City. You may know that. It may have your own version of that. But it was like a high school that was redone. Part of its section of it was redone to feel like a real city so that you could understand what it was like to work. And there were different jobs. There was like, I remember there was someone who would do popcorn, like make popcorn for you. There was someone who would make t-shirts for you. There was a banker, banking jobs, a DJ, different jobs, cleaners, different things. And I remember that you had to be voted in as the bank president before you went. And this was once everybody heard about it, and you were going to go there once in elementary and once in junior high, and it was this big deal. And I was so into this. This was made for me because I was playing Monopoly since I was in the third grade. So I love this idea. So I remember that I put my hand up when they said, who wants to be the bank president? And I put my hand up and I didn't win. Yu Chan Lee won. I still remember that almost 40 years later. Yu Chan Lee, I'm coming for you. He won and he was the bank president. And I was a teller. And I made something like 6.50 an hour and he made something like $12 an hour or something crazy. And when we got there, I don't know why didn't want to be the DJ, but I was very focused as a fourth grader on money. But we got there and it was cool. You couldn't walk on the grass, you would get a ticket if you did that. It was very interesting. But we get there and we do the work. And I remember I was a teller, so I got to see everybody's paycheck, which was cool. And remember, this is like one day you go for it, and it's like a field trip. So I saw everybody's paycheck, and I would see what different people were making. So I was looking around, observing, and you would have these breaks. You'd have lunch break and a couple of other breaks. And I remember, again, I probably was 10 at the time, that I got to go on breaks, and I got to go and hang out and spend my money. I got to go and do things. And Yuchan, who was the bank president, was so they put the pressure of the world on this man's back, on this little boy's back, because he was not able to take any breaks. He had so many people upset with him, so many people doing that. And it taught me that. And then it also taught me when people would come in and they would cash their checks and they weren't making enough to get what they wanted in the store, that there was a certain amount of people who were just not going to get what they wanted. So it did its job, this field trip. And what I took from that was a few things that I still take with me now. And that is that you have to make your own way. You have to enjoy what you do. And even if you're making money, especially if you're only making ends meet, you have to be able to take breaks. You have to be able to take time for yourself. It can't all be about the rat race. It can't all be about you do one thing today and then it doesn't matter the next day because you have to do another thing and it doesn't matter. I remember working in data entry and I had a night shift for most of it. And I would just type and type and type. And the next day, it didn't matter what I did the day before. I would do the typing, I would put it in a rubber band, and I would sit it on the side, and that was done for that part. And then you would get another stack to do. And it didn't matter. And I will never, ever, ever go back to that. I will never go back to it doesn't matter. In your job, perhaps it does matter. And I don't want to make a broad statement because I know so many amazing jobs. And I'm so grateful for everyone who does their jobs because I get to benefit from that, right? As a person who comes into a restaurant or someone who takes an Uber, etc. But I am trying to reach you. If you are someone who wants to change what you're doing, you want to change your life, you want to change your circumstances, you want to change your future. You may be an executive. You may be someone who is seasoned. You have been doing this for a couple of decades, maybe even more than that. And you have had some good times. You've had some fulfillment. It's been able to pay for the life that you've had. Insurance is always a big deal to me, all of that. But you're searching for something more. You're searching for something more. Um, I have a program called Inner Circle, and a lot of people have that, info people have these inner circles. Mine used to be, it started out as 15K a year, and then it went up to 25K a year. And I started at about 2021, I think. And I had people like Rachel Rogers and Tanya Evans and so many other people went through it. It's very cool. In fact, Rachel came up with the idea for her event, her ROI event at my inner circle, at our mastermind. We worked on that together, and it's become something amazing. But I remember, kind of watching the group. I've watched the group over time. And no matter what's going on, sometimes things are not good for some people, financially. Sometimes it's a rough year or a rough quarter, and we get to talk to each other about it. And we get to commiserate and try to help each other. And sometimes it's booming. A lot of times it is booming. We had someone go from 15K a month to 40K a month while they were in 8 months while they were in Inner Circle. But no matter what I observe is the autonomy. And I always say to myself, like if I have some sort of an argument with somebody at their at their job or something, at the airport, somebody treats me poorly that, works there or something. I always think this interaction is the worst part of my day. And it is probably not the worst part of their day because that's where they are. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. I don't mean that in a, oh, like you work at the airport. I mean, a lot of people work at the airport and more power to you. Thank you for doing that. I just mean that when I observe this inner circle group and I observe what sets them apart and what probably sets you apart, it's this longing for the ability to make their own decisions for better or for worse. The longing and the desire and the ambition to chart their own course, to be more in charge of the influx of capital, right? So what I mean by that is if you have a job and it pays you $100,000 a year, depending on where you live, that might, kind of adjust that. And it pays well, but you help the company make a couple of $1 million. And with the exception of a little bit of a bonus, kind of profile, and people do get bonuses, and I appreciate that. You're kind of capped, right? You're capped. Is this making sense? Let me know in the comments. Like you're capped. Your ambition doesn't really, it has a ceiling. Even though your ambition has no ceiling, it is closed off. It is capped. And when we are working for ourselves, for better or for worse, like we can go to zero. That's the risk. We can have really bad days and really bad quarters. But the reward is this abundance and this unlimited capacity, unlimited ceiling. There is no ceiling. The sky is the limit. And to me, that is the rush. That is the why. That is why I do what I do. Is in these whatever, how many years, maybe I'll have 80 years, I hope, 44 now, hopefully. But in this time, what can I experience? What can I experience? I wanted to let you know before we continue that there's a link in the description. This is a special video. This is a video that I don't record often. If you've made it to this point, this video is for you. I have my inner circle. And a few months ago, I decided after 4 or so years that I was going to cap it at 100 lifetime members. And we are at 90 lifetime members, which means that in a few days, there will be no more spots available at all for my inner circle. And I mentioned that it started at 15, it went up to 25. Right now, it is 5,000 per year. And I changed this, I would say like 9 months ago, maybe 12 months ago. Yeah, I think it was after your first million live 2024. I decided that I had been around a lot of really interesting people, and I decided I wanted to be around more of them. And so I lowered that financial barrier. Um, and there's a video on the website. I have the link below if you want to get one of those spots. But there's a video on it where Maisha, who's in Inner Circle, talks about the fact that at first she couldn't get in, but then when I lowered that price, she was able to get in, and it's been more than worth it to her. It's been worth so much more. But the reason I'm saying this now and the reason I put this in this video and talking about this topic is that it's a very special group. It is a group like no other in my ecosystem. Um, Even though 100 may even sound like a lot, it is a very intimate group. There are connections made and forged that are very, very special. And you get this one-on-one-ness with me that's also combined with the group aspect, which I think both are very valuable that you don't get anywhere else. Like you simply don't. I have the next thing I have is like I work with, six figures per year. Somebody will pay me $120,000 to work on their company with them. But I don't have anything in between. So this is you get my phone number, you can text me anytime. Um, there's a little bit of rules around that, but it helps, keep this manageable. But people, I mean, I have probably 6 or 7 texts that I'm going to reply to today from Inner Circle members, and that might be them texting me, or that might be an audio that they do. There's some guidelines around it. Can't be more than 3 minutes of audio at a time, just so I can listen to it, and then I pour back, what I can, and I give them that insight. Something that they're working on. You may have something where you're going to go into a negotiation, or there's a contract that you want to look at. I'm not any sort of legal mind or anything or accountant, but I can say, oh, based on my experience, this is what I would do. This is how I would negotiate that. You may want a gut check. A lot of times people want a gut check. They want to know, do you think this is the right path for me? Do you think this is the right decision? Sometimes people want to vet people with me. Have you worked with this person? And I'll tell them, you're in my inner circle. So I'm going to tell you everything I know from behind the scenes. And I know that I trust that you'll hold that and use it as you need to. So things like that. And then we get together once a month virtually. We are able to brainstorm together. People bring best practices to the table. There's that. There are multiple opportunities to meet in person. We do a lot of closed door meetings, a lot of one-on-ones or 1 to 3. I'll have this small group, or I've had 1 to 10. I had 3 of those a couple of months ago, mostly in Los Angeles, coming to me, and then, otherwise. And then when I have events like Your First Million Live, they're all getting the best seats, right? Amazing seats. And we're going to do something special that week. There's just a camaraderie there that is really top notch. And it translates into these bursts of brilliance, in my opinion. And it's not all perfect. It's not that everybody's just making their first million, like, woo, I made my first million. I was in it for 6 months. It's not how it works. But to have that camaraderie and to be on that, that equal ground, that equal footing with people who are doing similar things with you, that makes sense. If you're not at that place right now where $5,000 is like too much, like if you heard the number, you're still listening, but you heard the number 5,000, you're like, I couldn't do that. That must be nice. That just means that it's another time for you. It's another offer for you. It means that you should be in your first 5K or all access, and you should just take everything I teach you here on YouTube and run with it, implement it. You can go so far with that. But if you're still here and you're saying to yourself, it's only 5K, that's that's your sign that you need to be one of these 10 people who gets in where they fit in. Because we are, as I do things in real time, I share that with the group. You can always ask me that. And you get to see that behind the scenes. I have a women's basketball tournament league that I co-founded. I mean, it was just at the Sparks game against Seattle Storm last night. Just met Leslie Jones because she was right in the front and we were near each other. And I had my 3XBA on. and representing that, and had conversations, and people come up to me and thank me for the work that I do. And I'm going to show that video. I'm going to tell you here on YouTube that that happened. I'm going to show clips of the, quick clips of the video on Instagram. But when we meet up or when someone texts me, if you're in Inner Circle, somebody texts me right now and they say, tell me your logic and strategy around being at those games. How does 3XBA, your tournament, fit into the WNBA? And why do you wear the shirt? And what kind of conversations do you have when you're on courtside? Like those types of things is a text, that's a text away in Inner Circle. So that's why people are being strategic. And in fact, there are people in Inner Circle who don't even take advantage of that, that I have to remind them to, because it is all there. I think, it's too good to be true, but it's there. So the people who I think are really taking the right road with Inner Circle are pinging me on text. They're coming to those group sessions. They're meeting with each other on their own. Like that's the biggest hack. You got people in this room. If they made it into this room, they're working on something special. So you want to be, either it's one person or it's a group of people. You want to make your connections there. And I try to facilitate that as much as possible. But that's the type of thing, an example. Another example is, you get on a call with me when you first join, and we just go through all of what you're working on with your company. And those calls, those 45-minute calls, have translated into thousands of dollars for people on day one. And then over time, it's been a wrap. You also get 4 calls in 1 year with Colin Yearwood. If you're in your first 5K or All Access, you already know Colin. Well, actually, if you're in All Access, you already know Colin. Colin is our coach in All Access, and he is a fixture of Inner Circle. He teaches sales. He's co-hosting the sales and conversion new course that I have at my stand store. He brings in millions of dollars for himself and his clients. I bring in millions of dollars every year for myself and other people. So combined, it is a powerful force. And if you've talked to anybody who has ever worked with Colin, sometimes he'll do free calls and intro calls. But if you're in Inner Circle and you get to work with him all year long and have that close proximity to him, you'll hear that it's special. You'll hear that it's special. I always say it, and people don't quite believe me until they they get on a call, and then I get a text from them, and they'll say, "He's amazing. He changed everything for me." I know that's why he's here. He's an A player. You talk about having A players around you. He is an A player. We have some A players around, but it is a comfortable. It is welcoming, but we have ambition, and whether or not you want to stay at the current place you are because you enjoy it, or you're looking to get out, or that your time has come because you're seeing the writing on the wall, you're like, they may kick me out in a couple of months. You have power. You have more power than you have ever believed that you have. And part of that is setting yourself up, whether it's with my Inner Circle or in general. Maybe it's someone else you're working with. Maybe it's you getting together with a group of friends and you all forming a bond that is fortified so that you don't have to do this on your own. I think you need to have some plan in place. You're 40, you're 50, you're 60. You don't know exactly what the future holds, then you probably want to have some plans in place. I'm not trying to scare you. That's not at all what I want to do, but I do want to warn you, and I do want to alert you that I'm seeing it. It's another great thing about having Inner Circle is that I get to see just like they observe me, I get to observe them. And there's a lot of data points and very specific types of people. Most people in Inner Circle we're 94%, 90% women. Don't know the exact number, but something like that. We are very diverse when it comes to race and orientation and background and all of that. We have, I think, 5 or 6 dudes in there, and they have a little, little bond, some of them. Um, but a lot of the guys, I will say, I work with more one-on-one. I don't, that's not a big deal, but you have Colin, you have me, you have the group. But th there is this data that I get to see and observe and calculate. And I've been saying this for, I don't know, the whole year. I've been saying that we are in a boom then bust. Okay, so I think that so now we're more than halfway through 2025. I think there are some people who are going to do very well over the next 6 to 12 months. Very, very, very well. And then it's going to poof, go away. And I compare it to a few years ago when when you say certain words on YouTube, it doesn't show a lot. So I'm not going to say the exact words, but imagine 2020 through 2023. During that first part of 2020 and into 2021, it was a very scary time. But there were some people who figured out, oh, actually, if I stay awake, if I stay alert, if I take advantage of this moment, this very weird, devastating moment, I actually can come out of this okay. And they were able to have a boom. And a lot of them stayed up. It was like a lift and they stayed up above. You can see that in a lot of YouTube channels that went crazy in a good way. You can see that in a lot of people who made a few $1 million and they hadn't before. But then there were so many people who were devastated by it. Not only the physical toll and the emotional toll, but the financial toll. And I believe that we're in the equivalent of August 2020 to December 2020. Think about what that really means with hindsight. That means that it appears, and it is in a lot of ways, terrible, but it also means that you have this window of time not to be dragged by this wave, not to be the wave crash upon you, but to ride the wave. And that is where I think it makes sense for somebody to make an investment like this. Um, Obviously, um, you may be thinking like, oh, of course you want me to make an investment because you want the money. But to be honest with you, to be really honest with you, there's a cap. If I were thinking about money only, I would not have a cap on this. I would just hire a couple more coaches. I would have people siloed and okay, this 50 people, this 50 people, and this 50. Like I know a lot of people, there's groups that have 300, 400 people in their inner circle. So it's not, and if I wanted more money, I would charge more because I could command more. It really isn't that. It's more about, if I'm being really honest, I sent out a message to my inner circle last week and I said, I don't want to sell. I don't want to sell inner circle. It's too valuable for me to sell it. I don't want to be on this hamster wheel of getting to the cap. So to be 100% frank with you, I want us to get to the 100 people with some amazing people so that I can stop worrying about that part. Like it's not like I want to close the doors so we can just get to work and stay to work. It makes things easier for me logistically if we just have our 100 cap. Over the next few years, if anybody wants to, give up their seat, they can give up their seat and they can say, hey, I have a friend who would like to take my seat, take over the payments. There are no contracts, but they hold that space. It's a very sacred space. I want somebody to take my space. They may come to me and say, I need to leave. I've gotten what I want from this, or I can no longer afford the 5K per year, or whatever their thing is, no questions asked. And they may say to me, I don't have someone who can take my place, so you can sell my spot. And that's what I would do. So that is so much easier than it just being this open door and doing launches and things like that. I just want it to be closed. I wanted to have some amazing people. What we did last week, we brought in a couple of new people because I said, hey, bring in somebody who needs to be here. and they brought people in. So we've brought in about 3 new people in the last week. We brought in 6 people like last month. There was like a flurry, yeah, flurry. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish now. It'd be really nice for that. And at the same time, I know that a lot of people don't know about Inner Circle. They just simply don't know because, the surface area of me talking about it publicly is very, very small. I talk about your first 5K a lot. I talk about Arlan's All Access a lot, but I do not talk about Inner Circle a lot. And that's where I spend a lot of my time. I spend it on these text messages. And again, you'll see a video if you use the link in the description below. There are two, maybe 1 or 2 videos that explain, the depth of what we do. But it's that proximity. You want that proximity, that access to me. I'm telling you this without any kind of airs. I am working on incredible things. I have a beverage company. There's stuff going on we're going to announce soon. I've raised a bunch of money. I've invested a bunch of money in a bunch of companies. I've generated millions and millions of dollars. I can generate, thousands of dollars by, snapping a finger. I know how to do that at different levels. I know how to speak to different groups of people. You want to be around that. Like if you're in the 10% or so of people, maybe it's 8 for this video, 8 to 14% of the people who have made it this far, then there's something resonating with you, or you just like to hear me talk. That could be true, but there's something resonating with you, and this is for you. There are about 10% of people who follow me who can afford this, who are the right person for this, da 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 da. But not all 10% are going to do this. So you are even in more rarefied air when you kind of put these two and two together. You also join Mastermind. So Mastermind is where I bring in experts several times a year, like maybe 40 or so in a year. Like that's crazy, right? Like a lot of people. And we already have replays that you can access and resources. But starting in September, we'll start again and we'll have people coming in and experts coming in. They spend 90 minutes with us. I interview them for 30 minutes and then you get to ask them questions about your company, about your circumstance. And they roll up their sleeves. And we've had some incredible people in. We've had Callum Johnson, we've had Danielle Leslie, Tanya Evans, Diana Demina. We've had so many people come through, and every single one of them will text me and say, that was amazing. And, Nikki Saunders and just so many awesome people, Lamar Tyler, they want to be part of that. So that's normally its own offer, and you get that as part of being an Inner Circle. So just wanted to let you know that there's more to it, but really it's that proximity. Not that many people have my number that I respond to. I'll say it like that. Um, and this gives you that guaranteed response. So I want you to let me know in the comments a couple of things. Let me know if any of this resonated with you. Let me know. You don't have to say it, because it's kind of public place, but you don't have to say exactly what it is. But, let me know if this has you thinking about your lot in life, your position in life. Did you pick the right position at Enterprise City? By the way, I liked that I was a teller. I got to meet a lot of people. I got to see everybody's paycheck and I got to go on breaks. So I was happy. I made okay money, kind of midway, and I got to live. So, you can make a ton of money and not get to spend it, or you can make very little money and struggle, or you can, you know, work for yourself, work the hours you want to work, have the life you want to have, visit the places you want to visit, have the impact you want to have. And you find your middle ground, you find your calling, you find your ease and your calm. That to me is interesting. I'm in a position right now where I actually stepped away from the ambition of hundreds of millions of dollars. I haven't really talked about this publicly, so you're really, really hearing it if you stayed it this long. But I stepped away from this ambition of, oh, I want to be, I want to make 1 billion, or I want to make 100 million, or I said I wanted to be one of the top 10 richest Black women in America, which would mean, more than $100 million net worth. I have, well, I won't say what I have as my net worth, but it's eight figures, and I could go there, and I have the ability and the stuff for it. But something something clicked for me in the last 12, 18 months. I just want a better quality of life. I just want to maintain a high quality of life. I want calm. I want less stress. My dear Aunt Clotilde passed away a few weeks ago. Hurts to say it. And she, I don't know, that hit me in a way that I was surprised by, to be honest with you. But she was so important to me, and she still is. Where is she here? Let me show you. Yeah, that's Clotilde. She, when I was broke, which was a lot before 10 years ago, she let me live with her. She let me and my mom live with her. She let my mom live with her while I went to California to try to make some money. We had been in Dallas, and she slept on the couch. And in my book, where I started this video, I started it with this book. She's mentioned in this book because even though it's 5 years ago, because I talked about how she and my mom would send me like two to five, $10 at a time on a green dot card while I was living at the airport. And they would both help me and eat. And I think what I think there are certain deaths in your family or your friends that have different impact on you. Some of it is very sad for them, and some of it is makes you think and makes you think about your own mortality and your own life and what you want. And I think for me with Clotilde, it was I can't quite pinpoint it why it affected me so much, but I'm 44, and I want another 30 or 40 really, really awesome years. And I don't know if I'll have those if I'm extremely wealthy, but it's just like a rat race. It's just like a race to the top and everybody's in the way. I don't care if people think that I'm rich. I don't care if people know that I've had bad times or not. I fail in public all the time. People accuse me of things all the time or say bad things about me all the time. I have people who don't like me. All good. I don't care if people think that I hang out with wealthy people or celebrities. I don't care if they like that or if they don't. I care about how I feel, and I care about how people around me feel, and that I like certain television shows. I like comfort after being so uncomfortable for so long. I like a good meal. And I know some of you trolls, you didn't watch this long if you're a troll, but I know some people will say I do, really do. But I like that. I like my face. I like my teeth. I like my body. I like my life. I love my life. And so that's the energy I'm on right now. It's not so much like I'm around a lot of really interesting things. I have wonderful experiences. I just don't have to talk about it so much. Sometimes I do. I'll take you with me. Like we went to see Beyonce. We went to see Beyonce in a suite at SoFi in LA. I brought some of my inner circle members with me. There's a video clip of it you can see on Instagram. It's pinned at the top of my Instagram. We do things like that, but there's for every one of those, there's 10 things that you don't see. But inner circle, they hear about it. You can ask me about it, and I'll tell you about it. So I hope this has been helpful at all to anybody. This is your video. I made this video for you today. I didn't make it for the masses. I made it for you. You know who you are. If this is resonating with you, if you're still here, you know who you are. Let's do a code word so I know who you are. Let's say a keyword is going to be uh, Advantage. 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 If you watch to this point, when you type in the word advantage in the comments, it lets me know that you saw the whole thing. And no matter when you see this, even if it's months from now, type that word in. I'll see it in the comments and it'll mean something to me. All right. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you don't make it into Inner Circle, which the link is below, go jump in. It has all the instructions. If you don't make it into it, don't worry. Go into All Access or go into your first 5K, whatever you can afford, and I'm going to pour into you and we're going to go up together.